Now comes the fun part. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Stephen Jarvis and Friends podcast featuring me, Stephen Jarvis, and Mark Bensett. Today, we got a special guest on the show today. And I
We're just
know
gonna
his
call him
first name
Gene.
is Gene, but if he wants to say his last name, that's fine with me. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Gene. What do you do for a living?
Well, I'm not just a horror con promoter or a writer. I'm a stock person at Dollar Tree here in Sacramento, California. You know, I've been in retail for close to about 13 years. And I do have a fiance. Her name is Christina Plowman. She is the owner of the History Horror Group on Facebook, and I'm the co-owner. We both started all together about 3 years ago. Reason why I moved to California just to be her with the family, and then I have an awesome career.
Sounds like a fun career, really.
What got you started in this doing horror cons and all that stuff?
I'd be honest with you, I tell you the truth, it was actually all on me, really. Not just about because my best friend's down in Florida. It was just me, really. I really chose it all on my own.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I know that's a big genre. What is one of the least likely one of your favorites that most people don't like? Of horror.
Oh man, that's a hard one. Well, I met Sharon Doherty. She was rude when I met her. I don't know now, but back in years back, I'd say probably back in 2008. She was kind of rude.
Shannon Doherty rude. That case closed. Case closed.
Yeah, I've seen it all in big quotes before. So, what
Sharon Doherty was kind of rude though. She was. Go ahead.
Go
ahead, guys.
What all do you have to do? What all do you do? I mean, what's the hardest part of your job? Or trying to promote, get people? I mean, well, that. But I mean, what is the hardest?
Oh man. Well, I tell you what, it's kind of like getting a hold of celebrities and contact them really on the phone. Really, I'm not gonna say it's like really, really, really hard, but it's kind of like easy and hard at the same time. Really, all depends on who I really want to get them in. I just talked to Mark Scheffler, who's you guys know the movie The Last House on the Left, the original, directed by Wes Craven.
Yes.
And the Twilight Zone. Yeah, I just talked to him about 2 weeks ago. Awesome guy. And I'm trying to get him into the Days of the Dead convention, I think for August. And I talked to the owner, so he's kind of working with me on that right now. So, because he's never been in a Comic-Con or a horror con. So is Timothy L. Rayner, who played in Final Exam back in 1981 as a serial killer. He's been dying, really wanted to come into a horror con, but nobody never really picked him and all, and he's huge. So I'm trying to work with him too.
Is there anybody that you've wanted to get but you have not been able to?
Yes. Kane Hodder, which I mentioned about him to my friends a couple weeks ago about him, that I've met him about like 4 times down in Florida. He's a very awesome guy. I mean, I would love to get him into a Comic-Con here in Sacramento.
He's still on my list of getting on the podcast.
So have you ever done a podcast ever before, Gene?
No, this is actually my very first podcast, really. I'll be honest with you.
That's okay. So when you usually do these horror cons, is it months of planning or is it a year plan out, to get everything ready for the con, or is it like is it very simple, very fast?
Not really, not necessarily. It's to me, it takes about a year really. We like to plan things ahead and take our time on it really because we don't want to rush anything, and also we don't want to screw anything up. So I mean, we've it take about at least about a year.
Oh, okay.
So pretty much like the March event, like the March event is already booked. They spent a whole year for that one, and I'm
Yeah.
trying to work on for August of next year, and that's still going to take probably like a whole year. We have like a whole year, plan like on a planner, pretty much like on a paper, that who we want to get and who wants to be involved, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So,
go ahead, Mark.
what got you interested in doing the horror cons? Because we started off talking about that to begin with, and
Well, actually, I just been seeing a lot of people the way how they work with it, and I'm like, let me think here. Let me see if I could do it on my own, So here I am. I mean, that's what I always wanted to do, and it's a dream come true. I mean, it's really fun.
What was your first ever horror movie?
First, are you talking about like for watching or being in or writing?
go for each one of them.
Yeah.
First horror movie that I watched was Demons in theaters. And then I've never been in a horror movie just yet, but I am waiting to be in one. So hopefully I'll cross my fingers. But I am writing pretty soon a big horror project called The Dead Man's Wish. And I am coming for you about a mass killer neighbor. So which is going to be really, really cool.
Hey, Kyle.
Hey, Kyle. Kyle from Return of the Living Flet says, "Hey, Steven, Mark, and Gene. So back to like what you were saying. How has this? I'm sure once you watched Demons, I'm sure that blossomed into a great love of horror and all that. Is there any horror movies that you don't like?
Honestly, the only one, actually, there's a few, really, I'll be honest with you. I say Fear.com, which was one of the worst horror movies I ever watched. And I'll never forget that I've rented that to see how it is. And by the preview, it looks so good. But once I watch it, I'm like, this movie's kind of like garbage. Come on,
Mine was Cure. I didn't like that one.
Yeah, Cure, I didn't care for either. I've watched it only twice to see if I liked it, but I didn't have any interest about that one really.
I got it because, I got it because of the actors and actresses in it, and I was like, okay, this should be good, and it was a waste.
Yeah, it was garbage. It was trash. I could have expected a lot more, really, and I'll be honest with you.
What's your favorite horror movie?
I say Halloween 1978.
That's the most common one.
He's got taste. He's got taste.
And that's one of the ones that most people pick. Most of the older people pick that. And the newer generation, well, they don't have taste. I'm joking.
But I say Halloween 1978, the original Hellraiser, the very first Hellraiser, the original Scream, and the original Nightmare on Elm Street.
No, hell no. No. Oh, I liked it, but no, that had me scared. I was a kid that lived on Elm Street. What do you expect?
I still gotta get my Robert Englund voice down.
Eventually, you will.
Yeah, I've been
watching.
Well,
did you guys ever heard really that there's?
What?
Well, did you guys ever heard though that Robert Englund was talking about a new film, right? And he wanted to hand it over to Kevin Bacon.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, new.
Yeah, we
new,
were talking. Yeah, we talked
possible
about that. We were like,
movie.
man, we want Robert Englund to just keep the voice and just dub it, and have somebody else play the actor, do the stunts and stuff. I think that would work out too.
Oh, definitely.
I think
Oh,
so. I mean, Kevin Bacon is such an awesome actor. I always wanted to meet the guy so bad. Hopefully one of these days I would love to meet him or work with him. Really.
Do a Friday the 13th, uh, horror con.
I don't even know if Kevin Bacon would even talk about. Well, he
No, he's been
would.
talking about it a lot more.
Yeah, he would.
Actually, even Guardian of the Galaxy, the holiday special that they have out, he even talked about it in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He talked about I didn't kill nobody in Friday the 13th. I was killed. He said, it's not bad.
I still think he should have been the one to survive with Alice in that movie.
Oh, that's when the final girls, started more. They had them already, but that's when they started coming more.
Well, yeah, I mean, Black Christmas was pretty much the start of it. And then,
yeah, definitely.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre had it, and then Halloween. Although Jamie Lee Curtis likes to inflate her ego a little bit and say that she's the first ever.
We're not
Hey,
going to.
I'm just saying.
We're not insulting people.
I'm not
Right.
insulting. I'm just saying that her ego is out of alignment with her saying she's the first ever final girl. She was probably the first ever that got more attention.
Yeah, because Texas Chainsaw Massacre was even before that. Right.
Yeah. It was a drive-in movie.
Well, anyway. I tell you what, guys. Though too, I remember back in what was it, 1995, when Halloween: The Curse of Michael Myers came out, which was the writer Daniel Ferrance who wrote the movie. And then he did also Amityville Awakening, which he wrote. I remember me and my dad went to go see it for $1 at the Dollar Theater in Ocala.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, it was amazing. I always, don't get me wrong, this generation of horror is really cool though, but it will not beat the 80s, the 80s style.
Nobody will.
The late 70s, early 80s, into the 90s is the golden era. And I'll even, you get any of the new millennial generation on here?
Well, I'll throw, you can go into the 2000s with only, like a hand select few.
But the thing is back then, like the late 70s, you had Halloween, yes.
Right.
But in the 80s, you had everyone that was trying to copy it.
Press your backup, please.
Right.
And when a lot of them couldn't copy that success, they later became cult following afterwards.
Right.
I mean, Evil Dead today, if they were to try and do that today, even though they're making a new Evil Dead movie, they couldn't do that stuff today like they did back then.
Right.
Right.
Because everyone's got to have that, oh, well, we need to know why Michael kills. We need to know this. We need to know that. I told Mark, I said, this is a interesting generation of people nowadays. And I was born in the 90s. I never needed to or ever cared why Michael did what he did.
He's an old soul. He's an old soul. I swear he should have been born like in the 60s.
I would love that.
I mean, just the stuff that he comes up with. And I agree with him, though. But he should have been born in the 60s just because of who he likes and what it's all back in that generation, everything. Yeah, the newer generation does not help him,
Well, that's like the Saw films. How I only seen one Saw film.
I've seen them all. I like them.
I
same here. And you know what though? We have the new film coming out in October too. Saw 10's coming out with Tobin Bell.
I can't wait. And plus, there's supposed to be some more other people, surprise people showing up in the film too. From what I read.
Yes. Lionsgate is really awesome what they're doing. When it comes to films too. I mean, I'm really happy they're continuing with the franchise. What did you guys think about Spiral though?
I
I have yet to see it.
okay. I do have problems with it. I liked it, but I didn't like it. Um, to say it's off of Saw and stuff like that, but how the guy became part of the whole thing, and he's the killer, and you can see it from the get go. You know,
Jigsaw.
a big difference. It's
Right.
like a slap in the face. But story wise, wasn't so bad. But now it sort of got me wondering. Well, where's the next one at? Because they ended it on a cliffhanger.
Well, that's like Jeepers Creepers Reborn. I mean,
Yeah. Oh, no. We please.
No, I'm just Mark. This is a podcast. We have to talk about shitty things too.
Yeah. Well, that was a really shitty one.
I mean,
I
one and
haven't
two.
seen that one yet.
I haven't seen it yet either, but
I watched it, and it is so poorly done, and so I just wanted to, just. It was like one of those ones that you look at it and you're like, okay, it's good. It's a shipwreck. It's going down, but you're staying in and watching it all.
it's kind of
Right.
like the Titanic. You know that sucker's gonna go down with to the iceberg, but you still want to watch it.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, though, Jonathan Breck didn't play the creeper in this one, though. They had another actor, which I was told, really. When the original came out, I've noticed they filmed it in a Marion County area, Denellen, Florida, and which was really cool. So I went to the location, and I was looking at this where they filmed it, where the church used to be, and actually I think they burned that church down after they filmed it back in there.
Yes.
So,
Yeah,
but they
I've
left
been
the
down
site,
that.
though.
Yeah, I've been down that road a couple times.
I thought it was really cool though, just to ride on there, ride out there, which is really amazing.
Knowing that they did it not too far from us, yeah, it is about the closest we get.
Yeah, I mean, and back at what we were talking about before with the golden age of slasher films, throw Final Destination in there too.
I liked all those, and they're also making another one.
I've only seen one and parts of two.
Yeah, go watch them all, and it's wonders how it came a full circle around though, and how where it was supposed to end, and now they're gonna pick it back up. And sometimes some horror flicks just need to stay dead.
Yeah.
Oh
Just
yeah,
like the
I
last
agree. Mark, Steven, I agree with you guys 100%. I mean, I think HBO is going to pick up the next Final Destination movie. I don't know if it might be a sixth film or it might be just a remake. I really don't know how far they're going to go with it, but I know they've been talking about it for a couple of years. And not only that, we have Scream 6 trailer coming up tomorrow at 8 o'clock a.m. online.
Yeah,
I can't wait for that one.
I told my daughter that. I was like, it'll be on, or the trailer will be tomorrow. And she's like, really? She's one of those that loves Scream.
Well,
I do too.
It brought back the horror genre in the 90s. I mean, after the bombs that we were having later of the Halloween franchise with Halloween 5 and then 6, when Scream finally came out, horror was thought to be dead. I mean, they were pretty much like, how much longer are people going to make horror movies? Like, go to something new. And then all of a sudden, Scream comes out, and Wes Craven's a genius. I mean,
well,
Right.
He is a genius, though.
Well, I tell you what. Oh yeah, he is a genius. I love every Wes Craven movie. I mean, I wish I could have met him long time ago. But the directors who I met was John Carpenter, George Romero.
that would have been cool.
George Romero is such an awesome, one of the sweetest directors I've ever met besides John Landis.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, when I was at the Spooky Empire convention that I volunteered for a couple of years down there, which was really amazing, I remember me, George Romero, and Angus Scrimm from Phantasm. All of us, we went out to Applebee's. and we ate dinner together. Me and one of my friends and a few other, the staffs from Spooky Empire. We had Applebee's dinner with two of them, and until still this day, I'll never forget that.
Yeah, it's this weekend that they're going to be doing the Spooka.
Spookala? Yeah, I heard about that. I heard about it's like what is it? Their second annual now.
Second next year, they're moving it. I believe they're moving it out of Ocala and down to Tampa because it keeps getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah, that's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be cool.
I mean, some of the people that are going to be there is interesting, but I'm only going for maybe one or two because most of them I can't afford them what they want for their signatures.
Oh, exactly. I mean, we just had Corey Feldman here at the Sinister Creature Con. They wanted like $75.
Yeah,
over here.
Yeah, he's going to be here, and he's going to be doing his band's going to be going and stuff like that. And I'm like, yeah, I watched him grow up. But I don't have no interest in him, him himself.
No,
right. I tell you what, I've met Corey Haim. Corey Haim was one of my among first celebrities in horror that I met besides Gunnar Hansen from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original.
Yeah.
And that was in 2007. That's how I met them, because I had a buddy of mine, and he still works for Spooky. And he always told me about everything. So I helped him volunteer events and all that stuff for our last couple of years down in Florida, which was really amazing. The very first time when I was in the horror con, I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I don't know what the hell I was doing, really. And they were like, hey, would you like to come and volunteer and do some stuff? I'm like, yeah, sure. They didn't give me no instructions or nothing. So I just went in there. And all I did was just set up tables and all and got to hang out with the actors at VIP and all. And it was really cool. It was really blast. I mean, here in Sacramento, we have the Sinister Creature Con, and hopefully I'll get to work with that one next year.
And to all the people that don't know what he means by the actor Angus Scrimm, watch the whole Phantasm series. You'll understand why Angus Scrimm is one of the best horror icons out there.
NECA's just released a figure for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were gonna make a couple more movies. They're gonna make a couple more movies, but since he died, they don't want to make anymore.
Yeah. He was such an amazing guy.
Yeah.
Really nice. He was very, very cool and all stuff. I just went up to him, I shook his hand, and I said, hey, Angus, I'm a huge fan of yours, and I'm a volunteer here at Spooky Empire, and it's a pleasure to meet you. And then that's when he asked me if I wanted to go to Applebee's with him. So I did. So I walked over. The restaurant was right down the street from the place where they had the convention. So which was really, really amazing. And then I had great interviews too with Rob Mello, who played in Happy Death Day 1 and 2. Nancy Ann Ritter, who played one of the cheerleading girls from 1996 Scream. My last person who I really talked to on Facebook face to face was Justin Markson. He played in the movie Haunt with Jeannie Morrow and Damian Maffei, who also played in Strangers Prey at Night. Okay. And I just talked to Douglas Tate a couple of months ago, and he's interested for an interview. Which I'm really hoping I'll get him so I could do interviews with him. Mark Rizzo, he's one of the great heavy metal musicians. I don't know if you guys know who the band El Nino.
I've never actually heard of him, but yeah.
And so, which is really, really cool. So I'm hoping I'll get to interview with him sometime in 2023. And so is Doug, Aaron Armstrong, who played Michael Myers in the 1970s flashback of Halloween Kills.
That we need to get that guy on this podcast, Mark.
Okay, write his name down. So when I ask for it
Oh,
later,
just go on Halloween Kills thing. Look
I'll just
for
ask you.
Flashback
I'm
Mondays.
going to ask you later. What's the guy's name again? You're going to say,
Aaron Armstrong.
Yeah, Aaron
I'll
Armstrong.
remember it now.
That when they did those flashbacks, that flashback scene, oh my god, did they? I didn't think they're gonna be able to replicate the 78 that well, but oh my god, they made it look perfect. And then of course we got the dumpster fire of ends, but
Yeah. But they did a really good job on it. I mean, it was really cool the way how they did the flashbacks and all. And then Paul Jones Jr., who played Dr. Loomis, he did a terrific job to play that part in that flashback scene.
yeah, he just
You know,
screwed up
kind of
one line. He just screwed up one line though, and that's
right.
Did Michael kill again?
Yeah.
Like, you know he killed again. Come on.
Well, no, it wasn't that. He said
No,
that.
I know.
The voice wasn't
Right.
He had lost what he
didn't
was.
sound right. But but we also said that that's not something he would have said.
No, Loomis already knew, and that's what I always thought was pretty funny. With 1978, he knew what Michael was gonna do in Haddonfield, and everyone's telling him, "No, he's not. Why would he go back there and all that?" And he's like, "I already know what he's gonna do."
Right.
And it's just like.
Right.
That's why all these people that want Dr. Loomis back in the franchise to be recast, it's like you can't take it away from from Donald Pleasance.
Yeah, I couldn't see him doing that. If you're gonna do it, make a different doctor.
Yeah.
Oh, exactly. I mean, now since after Halloween ends, Blumhouse doesn't have the rights for the franchise anymore. I mean, it's backhand over to Malik Akid.
Yeah, and also I think Miramax or Dimension too.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
it's
exactly.
It's going to be interesting to see what they do with it next, but
it'll take about 5 to 10 years.
Well, yeah, there were rumors for a series.
Yeah, well, let's get Friday the 13th series done first.
I know, right? Crystal Lake coming out on Peacock.
I know. Wait. And they already said it'll be probably fall of 2023, they said.
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be good. It's going to be good. And it's been what?
And from what I've
long?
And actually what I read is it will go back and forth from present time to back to the past.
Yeah.
So that'll be a
it's going to be interesting, guys. I mean, Stephen, Mark, you know, it's going to be really awesome, though. I remember their very first series they did, you know, back 10 years ago. You know, I used to watch every episode of it. I mean, it was still entertaining.
I did have a problem with it for the fact that, you know, it says Friday the 13th series and it doesn't have him in it. That's what the problem I had.
Well, they were doing like what Halloween wanted to do.
Like what Freddy did with his series.
Freddy's Nightmares or whatever it was called.
Yeah. They tried to do it like Tales of the Crypt.
Yep.
Which, exactly.
I would love to have that back.
That's one thing I was going to tell you, Mark. At one point, they were bringing it back, and then now nothing. There were talks of a Tales of the Crypt, and they were going to do a CGI Crypt Keeper, which I thought was kind of
no. If you're going to do it, you gotta keep with the puppet.
But I don't think they want to do it anymore, is because a lot of people are saying, well, if you're not going to do it with the puppet, and if you're going to make it for today's audience with all the other crap garbage they want, then it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I can't see it working. I loved it how it was back when I was a kid.
That's like when we had Kyle on the podcast, and he's like, you know, the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the stupidest thing they did was the woke crap.
Well, they put him when they put him on a bus and try to, you know, and he kills all those people. I don't know if they did it just to get his kill count up or what, but.
Well, I liked that he went on the bus. I just thought it was stupid that they just stood there and one of them's like, well, I can get you canceled. It's like, oh my God. Really?
Yeah, but it was funny that he killed him.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, it was just, just as easy. But I wasn't a fan of that one.
No. And now they're making another one.
Yeah,
That's
2 more.
Yeah.
That's because
I-
Netflix has it right now.
Yeah.
So
I honestly don't think you could capture that.
I don't think you should be able to horror a movie out.
Well, I mean, they already did that after the first one. I mean,
Well,
you had Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, which was a comedy, horror comedy, which, okay.
Yeah, I was a fan, and you can tell me I'm wrong, but I was a fan of the remake with Jessica Biel in it. That one wasn't bad at all.
Alyssa says you're wrong, Mark.
I know.
Well,
thank you. That's
honestly,
something my wife tells me all the
I
time.
liked it.
That's something my wife tells me all the time, Steven.
Yeah. That's the one thing I've noticed about being married, and I've only been married for now almost 3 months, and it's just like you're always wrong as a guy.
Just wait. I'm going on 23 years, 25 with her next year.
I'll be happy when someone asks me, well, was your wife ever mad at you? And it's like, well, you can check on me. I never got hit with the frying pan, so.
Mark, you can't see what my wife does to me.
Oh, we all know she's gonna, once you're in a wheelchair, she's gonna push you down a flight of stairs.
No,
I think
you should do that now. She's looking at me like, you telling people that? Yeah.
Hey,
now.
don't kill my co-host just yet, please.
But I tell you what, though, I talked to Bob Elmore before, who played Leatherface on Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2. He seems a pretty cool guy. I talked to him about a year ago, and also J.J. Cohen, who played the skinhead from Back to the Future, and then he was in 976 Evil.
You told me when we first started talking on Facebook, we were going back and forth. You said something about the lost Leatherface.
Yes, that's Brett Wagner. He was in a certain scene from the remake of 2003's Texas Chainsaw Massacre with Jessica Biel, and then Andrew Borowski took over the rest of the part of the movie.
Wasn't he the one at the end of the movie when they're looking through the house and all that, and they kind of did like a found footage thing?
Yeah, that's Brett Wagner.
Yeah,
he's very cool. He's such a cool guy. I talked to him about 2 weeks ago, and me and him are going to be doing hopefully an interview with him pretty soon.
Now, I would have loved, after they did the remake, if they would have done the found footage like they did at the end of the remake. I would have loved that.
As long as it wasn't as, so choppy,
Well, I mean, you're back
like
back in the 70s. You got to think about that. Nothing.
Yeah, it could be great. No, I can go with grainy, but as choppy,
yeah.
Moving around as much.
Yeah.
Other than that, I agree.
Blair Witch Project, when I first watched that, I ended up throwing up because of
I won't watch that. I won't watch that at all.
It ain't that bad.
No, well, that's the reason why.
I tell you what, when my mom was a kid, she went to go see The Exorcist, and she threw up.
Well, I mean, you had people throwing up after Terrifier 2. People throwing up and passing out in theaters.
David Howard Thornton, he's a cool guy too. I've messaged him before, talked to him before. He's cool also, and he was telling me about his upcoming projects, The Mean One, and then also he has Stream coming out, which they've been filmed out about a year ago, I believe, and then Terrifier 2, and I really enjoyed Terrifier Part 2. Tamara Glenn was in the movie too. She played Samantha in Halloween 5: The Revenge of Michael Myers, which was actually, that movie was filmed back in 1988. They shot Halloween 4 and 5 back to back, but they wrote Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers, back in 1987.
Yeah, I've been talking with her.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Yeah, that's
She's
so
really
cool,
nice.
though. Yeah,
She's really
Tamara. Yeah, I heard about she's really a sweetheart. I heard about I've messaged her a couple times, but I haven't actually talked to her in person just yet. But Daniel Harris, I have. Daniel Harris is really cool though too.
Be nice, Steven.
I'm not gonna say anything. Not gonna say anything.
He likes her, but he doesn't like how she's, you know.
Well, she cries about everything nowadays. You know,
Yeah.
her biggest thing is now, once Jamie Lee Curtis snubbed us at Halloween Ends thing, and now we need to cry about it. It's like, just let it go.
I would have let it go. I would. And I'll be honest with you, Mark and Steven. I mean, I would. I mean,
yeah.
it was what Scout Taylor Compton was at that premiere. I mean, you know,
got a lot of
she's
people there. I mean, alone just being there just to get that feeling would be a tremendous.
Hell.
I'm gonna be at all. To be honest with you, Steven, I'm gonna be at all.
You know, she did great though.
Go ahead. G. Watching all those people at the Spooka Spookola Saturday. Watching them, oh man, I'm gonna be at all. Just being able to say I was there.
Yeah.
Hey, there you go, Mark, man. It's going to be really fun, man. You know, Ocala's growing now about that. You know, they usually normally have Comic Cons. Now they're having a horror con again. I mean, that's amazing. Ocala never really.
Yeah, I got a Terrifier. I got a Terrifier figure that I want signed. So, and he's going to be there, and I'm going to try my damnedest to get him to agree to come on the podcast. But I don't think it'll. You know, I'm going to eventually get him.
You're fired.
You know what? Honestly,
then you got to do my job.
It will be awesome, really, to guys have like also David Howard Thornton on there, you know, or really all of us together on there or something. That would be so cool, though.
I would love to have him, all together because he's one of my top ones, and I'd love to just pick his brain on how he comes up with what type of mind he goes into and all that.
Oh yeah, definitely. He's funny. I mean, he's really really cool. He's been in a Spooky Empire convention in Orlando. Him and the director Damian Leone.
They're both were there. Yeah, they're both going to be. Yeah, they're both going to be there.
That's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I wish I had the money to do the pictures, but they want cash, and not too many people have cash these days.
No.
So.
But if you guys get that for Minnesota Con, we have Tony Moran coming to.
Yeah, you told me that. Did you find out who else was going to be at that one?
James O'Barr, who wrote the Crow comic books, is going to be there. Who else is going to be there? I shared it, I think, to the group, and if I didn't, I can share it again.
You might have. I'll have to look again.
They've been announcing a lot.
If you ever come to Florida and stuff, or for one of the Comic-Con or horror cons and stuff, let me know. You know, you can always, give me a pass too. I'll come visit you for a day.
That would be really cool. I mean, well, I tell you what, though, Bill Skarsgård, who played Pennywise in those two Ed movies, he's the new Crow. It's going to be a series. What I heard.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I thought I heard about it and saying it's going to be a series. Would you stop that dog?
So they tried it before, it didn't work. So let's do it again.
Well, I mean, he's going to be in the prequel to it.
Yeah, Welcome to Derry.
Huh? Welcome to Derry.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And matter of fact, before they had Bill Skarsgård for the Crow, they were going to have Bradley Cooper, to play the role, and Jason Momoa, him too. Yep.
Yeah, there was a long list, and every one of them backed out of it.
Yeah,
because I really think it could be a cursed, role.
Well, it's not only that. None of these actors today could be as good as Brandon Lee. I'm sorry, I'll say it.
I agree.
Hold on. Well, it depends on how you look at it. I think Jason Momoa could, but I think he's a little too big for the part.
He's too big for it.
Didn't I just say that?
Why? That's why I don't understand Hollywood. I
Holly-
if I ever had to be a producer in Hollywood, I'd probably go nuts.
Well, that's why the person that they picked was great for the role. Really, he's the size that they need him for, and he plays a very unique characters.
Well, I mean, they probably shouldn't go back into The Crow, but
I don't think that they should start it from one. I think that they should rename them from something different. But then you have to go back and reintroduce it all.
Well, I tell you what, though, I was long time ago. I really had big plans to write a female version of the Crow movie.
that they were gonna do that too. It had Brandon Lee not got killed. They were gonna have him as the Crow in each one of the movies, but then he'd be helping someone else out that got murdered or whatever.
Right.
Which sounds cool. I mean, it would have been probably would have shot him up. Not that Brandon Lee wasn't famous before The Crow, but I mean that movie really made him.
Yeah, I was going to say the movie made him more than anything.
But it
But that was because of his death more than anything after that.
Well, I tell you what, though, Mark
he
and
was a
Steven.
really up and coming actor altogether.
I mean, look at his dad.
Well,
His dad, during one of the movies that was going to skyrocket his dad into American theaters, Enter the Dragon, ends up dying before it's released. So in reality, it was
Seriously.
everyone keeps saying that it was destined that was going to happen to Brandon.
well, that's the reason. One of the reasons why I didn't write the female, because I heard about they were going to write the female version of it. So, because I don't want to steal anybody's ideas.
Well, they
Or
did
nothing.
it in the TV show.
Try making it. Yeah, the best things to try to do is come up with your own ideas, but they don't always work. Sometimes, doing what you said, doing that, and then trying to see.
Well,
I tell you what, I asked Daniel Harris face to face and now about a female actually version of The Crow. If I wrote my own version, would you like to be a part of it? And this was back in 2008, and Daniel Harris says, you know what?
I still would love
Sure.
that.
She actually absolutely said yes to me.
Yeah. I mean, there was in the TV show, which I think The Crow had 2 TV shows back in the 90s after everything. They had one with Mark Ducat. I can't ever friggin' say his name. Ducat. Anyway, he was in it, and then they had, which was Stairway to Heaven, I think they called that one, and then they had The Raven or whatever it was called, and they had a female crow.
Yeah, I didn't watch either one of them. I should have, but they weren't very long.
The thing is that they tried so much to make it look like the original movie, and it didn't work.
You can't redo what was already done.
Well,
exactly.
They're trying, and anyways,
just like
you know what? You know how Hollywood is. Hollywood's Hollywood. They'll do anything what they want to
do.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. And now Sam Raimi is going to be directing another horror remake. It's going to be Magic.
Mm-hmm.
Magic.
Speaking about Sam Raimi, he's going to be at the Texas Frightmare in May or end of April. Ted Raimi and Sam Raimi and John Carpenter and Skeet Ulrich, and which I never met Skeet.
Oh, Skeet! Oh man, I would love to meet him.
Yeah, I never.
He's where I got. Ever since then, everybody. There's a lot of people. I'll say fuck rag, and everybody's like, "How did you come up with that?" I said, "Well, I stole it off a Scream," and that was, I'll call people that.
Yeah, I've never met Skeet, but I got to meet Nev Campbell once. I got to meet Jamie Kennedy. Yeah. Jamie Kennedy is really cool. Matthew Lillard is such an awesome dude. He loves to give people hugs.
Oh,
my daughter, she's a big Scream fan, and that's one of her favorite ones.
Well, Matthew Lillard, I mean, just
off of Scooby-Doo alone,
yeah.
Stuff like that. Just him alone is really awesome. He's a great actor. He could do a lot of things.
Now, Gene, did you ever watch any of the Ozzy exploitation movies back in like the 70s and 80s? like Mad Max. And,
Which one?
They're called the
Oh, yeah.
exploitation movies. You had
Absolutely.
Turkey Shoot,
I seen
Road Games. That was another one with Jamie Lee Curtis.
I believe I've seen that one.
Road Games I have not seen, but I seen Mad Max. I seen all the Mad Max movies with Mel Gibson, and then up to Fury Road came out, and now they're doing a spin-off prequel.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. I seen all the Mad Maxes, which they're such a classic, and I could still watch them again.
Do you know why Mad Max 2 was not called Mad Max 2 in the United States? It was called The Road Warrior. It's because Mad Max 1 did so horrible because no one could understand their accents. Because in Australia, they got such that accent to them. So then they had to rebrand it here in the United States as The Road Warrior Mad Max Part 2.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting, though. I'll be honest with you. It's really cool, though. It's like Rambo. First Blood was the first film. Then, the Rambo First Blood Part 2. Then Rambo 3. Rambo. Then Rambo Last Blood. And I think it's really cool, though. Matter of fact, Stallone was actually here, actually in LA, about 6 hours where I'm from, the other day, doing a live stage show thing. But he was there only for temporarily.
Yeah.
And a lot of fans were upset because he was sick and he couldn't sign no more autographs or nothing. He had to go. And customers are like, are you kidding? Are you serious? That's Stallone. I paid so much money to see him. And all of a sudden he had to go. The staff said, yep, he had to go because he was sick, which, I can understand.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, that even with like Road Games back in the day, Mark, if you haven't seen Road Games, it's pretty much your typical Jamie Lee Curtis movie at that point.
I believe I've seen Road Games. I believe I have.
It's where the killer's in the van and then the guy in the semi truck is trying to locate him. That's pretty much all it is.
Yes, I have.
Sounds cool. I'm gonna have to watch it.
Oh, it's a great movie. They got Stacy Keach, I think, is in that movie. One of the Keach brothers is in that movie, and just his acting alone as a truck driver in Australia, which I don't know if you guys ever watched Outback Truckers when it used to be on Netflix.
No, I didn't watch that. I watched the Alaskan Truckers, but that was about it.
Outback Truckers, they have these, I shit you not, they carry up to 10 trailers at once, and they call them road trains or something like that. And it's so weird how they can have 10 of those things hooked up at once. But
right.
I mean, Australia, that's like, I showed my wife one called Fair Game, and Fair Game was a really good Australian movie. But that's the thing with a lot of that the Aussie exploitation movies, is that they weren't well known, except for Mad Max and a few others.
But yeah, Mad Max is always such a classic. I still watch a bunch of 70s and 80s films, I still do.
Well, that's like the blaxploitation movies back in the day. Shaft, Superfly, those were great movies. Granted, they're trying to remake that now, but it's not working.
Okay, I'm going to ask you, what is out of all the movies that you've ever seen, horror, in any genre, what is your favorite altogether?
Oh man, I say science fiction. Like Alien, the Terminator films, RoboCop. I mean, with Peter Weller. I mean, that's one of such a great classic. Total Recall.
He's coming back for the video game that they're releasing next year.
Right.
Yes.
You were telling me that, I believe.
Yep.
Have you watched any of the fan films for Friday the 13th?
Yes, Friday 13th Vengeance, the first one, which was
Vengeance.
amazing. Steve Dash in that movie. I mean, he
Yeah.
was great. It was
Have
sad
you
that
watched
we
the
lost
second?
him.
Have you watched the second one yet?
Not yet.
You
And
need
I was
to.
talking to Peter Anthony about that, about
Yes,
Vengeance Part 2.
Peter Anthony is a good friend of ours.
Yep.
Yeah, he's you need to watch that one, just like Roseblood, and a lot of these other ones. Never Walk Alone, the whole series. In We're more towards, of course, Jason Brooks. He's another one of our friends on here. He plays Jason, of course, and he did a tremendous job. And yeah, if you get a chance, go watch Vengeance 2. You won't be disappointed.
I can't wait.
Oh
for
yeah,
that.
I'm planning on it because I've been waiting for that one for a long time. Like the first one, Ruby in this movie, Cedric Rams's wife. I heard about she did an outstanding job. I mean, how awesome she did. And Deborah Ford, matter of fact, they're having a Days of the Dead Atlanta convention. They're having a Friday 13 Part 5
That's
reunion.
what I was reading. I was reading. I was going to tell you to promote that one. Since it is next month, you can go ahead and promote it.
Yeah, I'm gonna I'll be promoting with that one with Deborah Voorhees. It's gonna be really cool.
The shameless pay-per-view plug, as we like to call it.
The WWE plug. Come on, keep plugging that shit. Oh, yeah, it's gonna be. I'm gonna put up some of the pictures from the Ocala HorrorCon after I'm done on Saturday. I'm just gonna take pictures of most of the stuff in there. Because I sure in the hell can't afford the pictures, so that's like $100 and something for some of these. But I mean, I can't wait though. Believe it or not, out of all of my movies, that one of my favorites out of all of them, and it's weird, but it's Shawshank Redemption.
That's
such an awesome movie.
That is one of my favorites, and I would love to meet the actors from there. Yeah, of course, Morgan Freeman would be awesome to have on here, but that's still a ways off.
I mean, I'm thinking Clancy Brown on here would be amazing.
Yeah, but that one, knowing that, it just shows you people are actually innocent and be treated like shit. So,
oh yeah.
And Shawshank Redemption is amazing. Yeah, even like the Green Mile. I love the Green Mile with Tom Hanks and Michael Clark Duncan. I mean, Forrest Gump, Castaway, Thelma and Louise with Susan Sarandon.
I think my favorite all-time movie would be Halloween, the original. But my favorite genre would be the road movies back in the day, like the original Gone 60 Seconds, Vanishing Point, Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry, Easy Rider.
Well, my favorite but I would get muted, so I'm not going to say it. You know me. I'm going to say something off the wall on that one.
Shut up, Mark. Don't get me canceled.
Like Debbie does.
Debbie Does Dallas, yeah.
We had Kyle on here from Return of the Living Flat, and we were doing our favorite horror movies, or no, at that time it was
top 10 serial killers in horror movies.
Yeah, and my top one, I said Showgirls, and Steven was like, okay, I'm muting him.
Yeah, I had to tap out at that point.
Yeah, I figured it'd be something different.
Couldn't get over to the corner for the hot tag, so I just had to tap.
Well, did you guys knew about when the original Scream came out back in 1996? Wes Craven actually did a small part as Ghostface in that scene when Drew Barrymore was on the phone screaming.
Yeah,
when that Ghostface jumps right through the back window or something, that was Wes Craven, and Drew Barrymore accidentally, she hit Wes Craven so hard with the phone and whacked him in the head. And I never knew that. Nancy Ann Ritter told me about that, and then Molly Ringwald was going to be in the movie too.
Yeah, my daughter's sitting over here saying yes, he is correct.
Yeah.
Thank you.
She knows. I'm telling you, she knows just about everything about those movies, left and right. She's even got them all, ranked, even from killer, all different things, and
Nothing
she's
will
great.
beat the original one.
Nothing ever beats the original ones on a lot of movies.
That's why I always said
Well-
if they would have just kept Halloween 1 as just itself and then waited to do the trilogy, it would have been a
Yeah.
lot better.
They still killed the trilogy though with part
Well,
3.
you don't. They
and-
tried to do the trilogy back in the day with 4,
I
5,
know.
and 6.
I know.
It didn't work after 4.
Because people want Michael. They
Yeah.
don't want somebody
Oh,
else.
exactly. Exactly. They want Michael Myers. I mean, that's what a lot of fans
Instead, we got a
want.
ripoff, or instead, we got a weak Michael that came strong at the very end, but yet he still died with a refrigerator on him.
Well, you knew they were
Yeah.
gonna kill him. I mean,
She should have died, not him.
well, yeah, but they were gonna kill him off. He's died in almost every one of the movies, so you knew they were gonna kill him off.
I tell you what, the guy who played Bob Sims, John Michael Graham from 1978, Halloween, he was such a cool guy. And I asked him, and I said, "Hey, John Graham, what was it like to play Bob Sims? In the movie, and how did you feel? Had that little sex scene with PJ Souls?" You know? He started laughing at me, and then he goes like, "It was awesome. The pay was really low back then, back in 1978. But hey, you know what? It was really cool. Very awesome question, man." And that's what John Michael Graham told me.
They still get good royalties off of it, though.
Well, yeah.
They do.
I mean,
Every
John
time
Carpenter
something new comes out for it, they get it. So that's a good thing.
But yet, the
But,
funny thing about that all is that
What's that?
as soon as that movie was completed, they showed it twice. One was without the music, and one of the people at I can't remember Erwin Yablon's production company at that time, but one of the ladies from there went back to John Carpenter and started laughing, said, "This movie's a comedy." And he's like, "No, it's supposed to be horror." And she's like, "It's a comedy." Well, then he decided to put the music in, which he had to rush to do that because they didn't have the budget to hire anyone to do the music. So he did it all himself. And he showed it again to the executives. And that same woman that came up to him and said it was a comedy said, "You just literally will scare the hell out of any generation."
There are 3 sounds, actually 4, that will get a generation scared. One, the Friday the 13th. When Jason's up behind you. Well, you think about it, it scared a generation at one time. Freddy, he's got that music when he's coming on. You got Jaws. You have Jaws all together.
Well, yeah.
Right.
And then you have Halloween.
Well, I mean,
exactly. The original Halloween movie was actually called The Babysitter Murders.
Yep. But Erwin Yablon's a man of great insight, said no. Well, the original Donald Pleasance wasn't even thought of as Sam Loomis. They wanted to have either Peter Cushing or God, what's the other guy's name?
Come on, you think of it. You have it on the tip of your tongue.
Christopher Lee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The interesting part about that is oh shit, hold on. Yeah, I think it's something else. I got to think of what I was going to say.
It would have been another, if they would have gotten either Peter Cushing or Christopher Lee, it would have been another British Hammer movie. That's why they didn't want him in it.
Yeah, me and Steven, there was this guy talking about Michael Myers and stuff online and stuff and on Facebook, and I tagged Steven in it, and I was like, hell, this guy doesn't know his ass from the hole in the ground. So Steven just spewed out a bunch of...
I took that guy to school.
And it was funny because it worked out perfect because the guy did not say anything else.
Well, it's like I dedicated the reason why I love Halloween so much was because I was born in 1993. So every AMC horror movie month, 1998 was when H2O was released. That's the first one I ever watched. I wasn't really scared about that one. But 78, oh my God. I would have to have the pillow. I'd have to plug my ears. I couldn't look at the mask. Nothing. I couldn't hear the music.
That's
But
how
then
I was.
it started my love of horror movies.
That's how I was with Friday or
Yep.
sorry, Nightmare on Elm Street. So yeah, I
Oh
understand.
yeah,
Well,
I understand that completely too. I mean, very first time I watched the original Halloween, I was probably 8 years old. Really, my mom turned it on when I was living down in Miami, and she was like, "Halloween is on. Have you ever heard of it?" I'm like, "Not really." Until I was 7 or 8 years old. That's how I really got into the Halloween franchise.
How old are you?
I'm 39. I'll be 40 on February 26th.
Shit.
Yeah, I'll be 30 next year.
Yeah, you're this. I'm 45.
That's awesome. My fiance Christina Plowman, she'll be 43 in June.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
she's not bad looking. I'll
Thank
give
you. I
that.
really appreciate it. I told you she's
Shut
very
up, Mark.
she's
Hey, I have to be nice.
Good God.
she's really sweet. I'm really grateful to have her.
No,
I
I sent her.
really do.
I was looking through his pictures to see what he has done and stuff like that. Try to figure out.
I
She,
swear, normally he's not a creep, but I mean, now
Yeah. You just don't see it all the
You know
I'm
what?
gonna get canceled because of him.
She,
No.
she wouldn't mind. She loves everybody's compliments. She's really cool. Me and her know each other for almost 4 years.
Yeah.
We actually met each other on Facebook, actually, and we trust each other since then, long distance.
Yeah. Me
All
and
we
my
know
wife,
was
we
brought him
met
all the
on
way to
Meeting.
California.
But I like it here. It's really cool. It's not the very first time, that I've traveled.
Yeah.
I've been through Chicago. I've been through Wisconsin. I've been through New York, New Jersey or something. However, I mean, it's really cool though. But being in the horror community is amazing.
Oh, it's
You
one of the
know?
greatest communities. The only thing that makes me sad is there isn't a community for movies like Bullet, Gone 60 Seconds, Vanishing Point. All those movies are pretty much no one knows them. They just think of the Nicolas Cage one. Now they're gonna make a Bullet 2 with Bradley Cooper as Bullet, which I don't know how that's gonna work.
I heard about that. Yeah,
Steven Spielberg's behind it too, so it's just like really.
Yeah.
Well, it just depends on how they make it.
Well, it's like
Steve
Indiana Jones
McQueen's
5
not gonna
coming
be
out.
in it. I'm sorry, but it's not
Well,
gonna work.
See, I told you that they were making a remake to Christine, and then they're going to make a part 2 off of that. And I'm just hoping that they don't do it like they did Firestarter.
I hope
they
not
don't-
either.
If they don't listen to John Carpenter, if John Carpenter comes out and says that he had no input in the new Christine movie, I can already tell you it's gonna suck.
If they
'Cause
follow
yeah.
it, if they follow it good and leave a lot of, and if they
None
follow
of
it,
these, none
will
of
be
these
fine.
directors, the only directors that actually get it right with some of these remakes is because they respect the person that made the original.
Right.
Like the reason why Rob Zombie's remake came off as what it was is because he already said he hated the original. At least that's what I've been told.
That's why I've been told. Him and John Carpenter actually got into it really
Yeah.
when the first Rob Zombie's Halloween came out back in 2007. Him and John Carpenter were like disagreeing with a lot of things when Rob Zombie made his film. I
Oh,
mean,
him
the
and
reason
David
was,
Gordon Green almost got into it.
yeah, that's what I heard too. I mean, they
Yeah.
had some fights about it or something, because when they did Rob Zombie's Halloween, even before that, Halloween 9 was actually going to be in the works with
Yep.
Mustafa Khan, and which was supposed to be called Halloween Retribution, which they were supposed to bring back John Tate, played by Josh
Josh
Hartnett from
Yep.
H2O back in 1998, but it failed, what I'm saying? Retribution never worked because Mustafa passed away, and Rob Zombie took over, to
Yeah, but
do
they were
the
also,
two remakes.
after the Rob Zombies, before Blumhouse and them all got it, they were supposed to have one come out, and it was supposed
3D.
to be, huh?
3D.
it was supposed to be done in a prison.
Yeah.
Oh, Returns.
Yeah.
Returns.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Return.
That,
And
Asylum, and 300.
Yeah, we both sat down and we read the comics for it, and that would have been such a good movie if they could have done it.
We watched a movie talk about it, and the only scene that I really liked in there was they give him the lethal injection, and you can hear his heart start slowing down, but all of a sudden he hears a voice or something, and he looks over and he sees this person. He pushes the poison out of his veins because he gets so mad. And I was like, just to hear how they would have done that would have been cool. But I mean, and Mark, when you were looking at the Retribution, when Gene brought that up, that's in Talking Shape, the second one.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, definitely.
I still got to go through that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, Halloween Retribution was supposed to be planned, and then to bring back John Tate, from H2O. But, it didn't happen since Mustafa, passed away, which,
him and his daughter were killed in a terrorist attack.
Mm-hmm. And when Halloween 4 came, before Daniel Harris took over the role, Melissa Joan Hart was actually going to play the role, was talking about playing the role as Jamie Lloyd.
Yeah, I don't know how well that would have worked, though.
Originally, had they gotten Jamie Lee Curtis to come back, Jamie Lloyd was going to be a bit part, was not going to be related to her. And then when Jamie Lee Curtis said, well, I'm not coming back, then they had to scramble and figure it out. Granted, I still think the whole family thing was stupid.
Yeah.
I mean,
some of the horror genre needs to have that why. Us, we don't need the why. We need who's he going to kill next?
We don't, even at that, no one needed to know why he did it. We knew why Michael did it. It's because he's purely and simply evil. We were told that.
It's not why he was going to kill certain people. It was the fact that, okay, well, they're on screen. Are they going to die now? Or are they going to die later in the movie?
But then they also wanted to know why he was going after Lori in the second one, which he could have just said, well, because she escaped him.
She didn't die.
Yeah. Out of all that planning that he did for that night, one got away. Simple as that. But John Carpenter didn't want to make a second one. They put the proverbial gun to his head, as he likes to say it, because he wanted to make The Fog at the time. Well, Irwin Yablans thought that they were going to make the movie for his company, but then he finds out that another company is going to make The Fog, and he almost sued John Carpenter. So then The Fog was made through the other company, I think, and then he came back to do Halloween 2 so that he wouldn't get sued.
Well, did you know in Halloween 2, though, back in 1981, Jamie Lee Curtis actually cut her hair and she had to wear a wig.
Yeah, because she had already started to do the short haircut, Yeah,
that was kind of interesting, really. I never knew that until John Carpenter actually explained it when Deborah Hill was around, too. And she did a great job in her films, such as like Escape from New York. Which was an awesome movie. Assault
on Precinct 13, The Thing. I mean, They Live, yeah. And that fight scene in They Live was all ad-libbed by Roddy Piper.
Yes. I actually met him.
Him and Keith David just decided. It's funny because when they were gonna do the fight scene, John Carpenter's like, well, how are you guys going to start this? And Roddy Piper supposedly sucker punched Keith David, and that's how it started.
I met Roddy Piper. I met him a long time ago.
He would have been a nice guy to meet.
Man, he was very sweet. I met him and Jake the Snake Roberts at that same night.
That would have been cool, too.
Jake was really cool, too. Very, very, very cool, generous guy. He was really good to the fans. I mean, him and Macho Man. I mean, even the Macho Man Randy Savage. I mean,
well, that's why I always get a kick out of people when they when they say, "Oh, Macho Man was such an a-hole" and all that, it's like people don't realize that's a character he played. I mean,
he played that character all the time, though. His family even said that.
Because you do realize back in that day when kayfabe was still around, you had to do that. That's why Dr. D. Dave Schultz hit the reporter, and Vince McMahon screwed him.
Oh, exactly.
I mean, there's not too many characters nowadays that play it. I think the only one that I can go off the top of my head is Rey Mysterio.
MJF.
He's the only one that I don't see without his mask. That is in, that's
in luchador lore, though.
Right. As soon as you lose your mask, you're pretty much a dead person.
But he did unmask in WCW.
Yeah, but Vince McMahon didn't want that Rey Mysterio. He wanted the mask Mysterio.
Yeah.
That was a few things.
It's like Kane, he did See No Evil 1 and 2.
Yeah.
That was so weird.
I mean, that was actually pretty good, though. I mean, the reason why that me and Christina created a group called History of Horror, I don't know if you guys are in the group or not. If so, that's awesome. I mean, we wanted to do it because we're a bunch of horror fanatics. We're horror.
Mark's going to look it up now, join, and then send me an invite.
Yeah, we'll love to have you guys in there. And we got all the celebrities in there, too, that I got. Christopher Duran, who played Michael Myers and the stunt double of Ghostface from Scream Part 2, which just turned 25 years yesterday. Yep. He's been in the group for about 3 years. And we have David Howard Thornton in there. We have Leslie Dean in there. We have a bunch of awesome celebrities too. Sandy Johnson, who played Judith Meyer in the original Halloween's, in there. We have
really?
CJ. Yeah, me and Christine are really good friends with CJ. What's her name? Sandy Johnson. We're really close friends with her.
She was so scared to come out and all that stuff, to be a part of the Judith Myers thing, but she's owned it so much now. And she even, I don't know if it's true, but supposedly in one of the documentaries, I think it was Jamie Lee Curtis said that the girl that played, which she was probably a young adult at the time, who played Judith Myers, was scared of the fame and all that was going to come with that movie. Because horror movies back in the day were so taboo.
Well, the Myers house, which is, in South Pasadena, about 6 hours away where I'm at, which is removed back in the early 80s, right after they filmed Halloween 2. It's moved out on the 30 Mission Street, which where the hardware store scene is, when Laurie Strode and Andy Brack are in that car, when the alarm sound was going off and all and stuff. The house is right across the street from there by the railroad tracks now. They actually repainted the house. The house was built in the 1800s.
Now, was it true that they also use that house as the house for Nightmare on Elm Street? I heard somewhere that some movie house was, maybe it was Halloween 4 or something, but they used some house in Halloween for Nightmare on Elm Street, I think it was. I might be wrong. Someone in the comments.
I don't know. The Doyle's house, it was filmed in Ronnie Dangerfield's Back to School.
Oh, okay. I couldn't believe that Robert Englund was actually an uncredited person that worked on the original Halloween.
I know. I was a bit surprised about that. And when I heard about it, I'm like, no way. And somebody actually told me about that. I'm like, what? Really? I'm like, hold up, let me go ahead and look it up. And Mark, I tell you what, my face kind of dropped. I was like that, I'm like, how the hell did that happen? It's like Quentin Tarantino. He had some kind of a little idea involvement for Halloween 6.
For 6, yep.
And,
when it was Halloween 666.
Wasn't King Otter in there a little bit in Halloween?
No.
He worked as something on there, like a stunt.
He wanted to.
No, he wanted to, though.
He wants to. He says before he dies, he wants to at least play Michael Myers.
Yes, but
even if it's like taking one little bump, he's like, I'll do it.
Michael Lerner was the guy who played Michael Myers in Halloween 6. In the way end when he got swinged by a pipe by Paul Rudd. That was Michael Lerner. The rest of the movie was George P. Wilbur from Halloween 4.
Yeah, I was just about to say George P. Wilbur was in that in 4 and 6.
And the weather was like 20-some degrees when they filmed it back in 1994.
I don't know if you ever seen this, but they actually have a photo of Dick Warlock and Jason Voorhees together.
Yes, I actually had that photo somewhere.
The second one.
I had that photo saved somewhere about that, and I thought that was really amazing. You know, we lost. You know, if you guys sadly that we lost a stunt double from Halloween 1978.
The one that fell off the balcony that got shot 6 times.
Jim Wilborn.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was cool. Very cool guy.
I wish I would have gotten to meet him just to ask him, you know, because that was a dangerous stunt back then. To just fall not knowing how you're going to fall. And they even said in a documentary on that he could have landed on his neck. He could have, you know, missed the thing, tripped over and landed on his head. I mean, he
could have injured himself big time. I mean, it's like Tommy Lee Wallace. He played Michael Myers too. Yeah. You know, Mark and Steven, Tommy Lee Wallace is such a really, really cool guy.
He also directed Halloween 3.
Exactly, and then he played Michael Myers in the closet. In the closet scene. You know, trying to study, Jamie Lee Curtis. You know how many people to play Michael Myers?
In the first one, you can even see Deborah Hill's hand in the beginning of the movie when she goes to pick up the knife. Oh,
exactly. How awesome is that? Her hands were so tiny, you know, to have a 6-year-old Mikey Myers, you know, coming, you know, and, you know, grab the knife out of the drawer, you know. And everybody never knew that until Deborah Hill said that, you know, in the documentary. And Irwin Yablans was such a he was terrific too. I mean,
Irwin Yablans was one of the smartest people with how they want, because I mean, who in their right mind would, you know, think of a franchise called The Babysitter Murders?
Exactly.
I mean, that would have been a one-off movie. You would have already known what it was going to be about, and it's just like, it's so weird knowing that Halloween could have went by something else. Like Friday the 13th, actually, when they were making that movie, almost got sued because there was already a Friday the 13th movie, even though it had not been released yet, was going to be released.
Right.
Just like Ghostbusters almost became, not to switch topics, but just another one that I heard from a documentary on Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters almost had a different name because there was some comedy sketch from one of the, not the Three Stooges, but back in that time, that was called Ghostbusters.
I believe it was something like not Ghostbusters, but
Ghost Eaters, I think, or something.
It had a stupid name.
Yeah. But luckily, they were able to get the name from that old... It was like one of the old cereals, as they used to call them back then. From the old cereal, and we're able to use it.
Right.
And
then, that's right.
For Ghostbusters 2, they were going to go with a completely different version of Ray Parker Jr.'s Ghostbusters theme.
Yes. That's what I heard also.
Yep.
That was actually pretty interesting, though. I love all these backstories of each films, even if it's not about horror or, you know, even as like different, you know, like science fiction, action, comedy, you know. I love all the backstories, what the originals, you know, what was supposed to be called and this and that, you know. I think it's really, to me, it's always been interesting, you know, and I always tell my mom and my dad about that for a long time.
So, Gene, we're going to wrap it up here soon, but I got to ask you one more question. It's a kind of a two-parter. What is your favorite all-time movie opening, and what is your favorite all-time ending of a movie?
Oh man, that is a good question, Steven.
And this is also for you too, Mark. So get ready.
Oh, oh man. I say my favorite opening is horror Halloween Part 2, the original.
Mhm.
Science fiction, Terminator Part 2, Judgment Day. As far as about the ending, oh man, that's kind of hard to choose. Man, there's so much, Steven. I mean, it's really hard to pick, really.
All right. Well, if you have to message us or put it on the face group page,
Steven, you don't want to know mine.
What is yours, Mark?
You don't want to know. I'm not allowed to say.
I'm about ready to mute him.
I'm not allowed to say.
I'm gonna do it.
Actually, at the opening for Nightmare on Elm Street.
Okay.
I think that's one of my. I think that's one of my favorite.
The original.
Yeah. Sure in the hell ain't the remake. No. And again, you have too many open-ended endings that were good. I would still have to. I'd go with not too many horror genres to go, but I like. Oh hell, you are right. There's a lot there because I do like how Scream ended. You know, where it shows two killers. Oh, spoiler alert!
Right.
Spoiler for no one that's seen a movie in the 90s.
Oh, you never know. But yeah, to introduce two killers because at that time serial killers weren't paired like that. So
not at least not in movies.
Right.
Well, I tell you what, Mark and Steven, actually real quick though, I say Nightmare on Elm Street remake was actually the worstest remake. Really, I did not like. I know Jackie Haley is a good actor and all, but he couldn't play Freddy. I mean,
they didn't give him the right way to succeed either in that movie.
Right. They changed the story. They screwed it up, and they screwed up the makeup, all that. I know that they wanted to do it their own, but I'm not a fan of that one at all.
No. So,
yeah, I was a fan of it, but I say maybe Halloween 5. I didn't like the ending too much.
It definitely kept you in suspense, though.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Because you're wondering what happened. You know, where did they go? You know, stuff like that.
Danielle Harris was open to the idea of her being the killer for Halloween 5. That's how screwed up the franchise was at that point.
I don't think I would have went with a child killer at that time. But
not even
as she got older, turning her into the killer, I could have, if they branched it off and not did Halloween itself.
Well, if they didn't do that Cult of Thorn bullshit either.
It's the one everybody hates.
Ugh.
There's always one in a series that somebody hates.
Well, in the fifth one, I mean, you see him have the Cult of Thorn.
Yeah, that's when they first started it.
Like,
but before that, they didn't have it.
No.
Well, it's like I was really happy, really stoked and happy though about John Strode, the character, the biggest jerk in that movie. You know what I'm saying? In Halloween 6, I love when they explode his ass in the down the washing machine. I clapped when that happened. I'm like, good riddance, bye bye. You know?
Yep.
I have to say, now there's so many openings and closings, like we all agree on that. I think Halloween, the original one, was pretty good for an opening. Halloween 2, same thing. Halloween 5, I hated how they threw the dynamite in there and he was already out by the time it caved in and all that. It was like, okay, could see that happening. Halloween 2018 had a good one. Not when the podcasters, but when they got to the theme and they're blowing up the pumpkin, that was pretty cool.
That was cool.
Yeah, my wife has such a good take on that too. Because I couldn't figure it out. I'm like, well, why are they blowing up the pumpkin? And she's like, well, think about it. They haven't had a movie for I think at that point it was almost 10 years. And when they're blowing up the pumpkin, she's like, it's kind of like saying, you know, it's back.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
then my favorite all-time ending, Halloween 1 and probably Vanishing Point.
That was a good movie too, A Vanishing Point.
Yeah.
I to this day, I still don't. And there's so many theories why he crashes into the bulldozers at the end. Supposedly he could see light and he thought he could make it. And I still feel bad that anytime I see that movie and he smashes that car, it's just like, oh, that's like Fast and Furious when they have the race at the end and he hits the semi. It's like, oh, why such a nice car?
Well,
Sure.
I was thinking about writing a Halloween book, really, which I'm still planning on. I wanted to do for our last couple of years, really. I've actually want to write a follow up to part 6. Really, have Danny Stroke being older, you
Yeah.
know, and the baby, you know, what I'm saying, which Steven, have him being older too, to find Michael Myers, you know what I'm saying, along with Karen Strode. I want to write that so bad. I'm still planning on it though, to do a
I
part
would
6.
like that.
I'd like to
Anytime
read
you're
that.
writing that, we'll plug it on here, you know.
But yeah, I am planning on writing a Halloween book called Halloween the Stephen Lloyd Story. And
read it.
oh, thank you. But it's going to be really awesome about Mrs. Blankenship, that she's passed away. You know, Karen Strode and Paul Rudd, they're together. You know, they're married. You know, they have a kid. You know, Dr. Loomis is retired and all, and he faked his death. You know, in the theatrical version, everybody thought that he died. Like, no, and then all of a sudden they came out the producer's cut. You remember that, Mark?
Right. Well, that was an opening ending where
Yeah.
you could interpret it any other way.
The reason why it ended with Donald Pleasance doing no in the theatrical version was, I heard, because he had already passed away.
Yes.
I think so. Have you ever read Taking Shape?
I'm
The
sorry?
books? Have you ever read the Taking Shape?
No, I haven't read it yet.
Oh my God, you gotta get them.
Yeah, read those.
Yeah, I've never read that at all. I heard about it was really good though, but I've just never read it. But I need to read it sometime, guys. I mean, it'll be really, really cool.
My break time, and I can't read right now, so
All right. Well,
be on the phone.
I think it's gonna be a wrap for me. It's almost 8 o'clock. I'm getting tired. We've almost been
No
doing
problem.
this for an hour and 30 minutes.
All right.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you guys on the show, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much for agreeing
Thank
to
you.
be on here, Gene.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure to meet you, Stephen and Mark, and hopefully we'll do this again. It will be awesome.
Oh yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Talk to you later, Gene.
All right, you guys have a wonderful evening.
Yep.
You too.
You too. All right, everyone. That was Gene. He runs a lot of horror cons. He helps with them. Hopefully you guys like this episode. It was kind of, we weren't on our best game this time. I can even admit that I wasn't on my best game.
That's because we did it earlier.
Yeah. But there's going to be some huge updates with the podcast. We can't talk about it right now, but hopefully soon we will be able to talk about it.
We have we might have one or two. If we can do 2 guests, but I don't know. But we will let you know here in the next few days on who our guest will be next week.
So from us here, from the team, that's Mark. I'm Steven. We're signing off. Bye.
Good night.